Life is precious, but for some, life can't continue without the generosity of others.
Hello? Without the blood and blood products, I wouldn't be alive.
For some, it can be a struggle to survive.
Can you help me? I'm a police officer. I've been stabbed.
Hands up, I'm bleeding.
I just said, you're going to be all right, mate. The ambos are here.
I felt like someone had hit me over the back of the head. Everything just went black and then it started spinning and then I got cramps and I just thought, oh God, I'm gonna lose my baby now.
They were running my bed down a hall. It was just like lights just like going past and I was in a theatre and out.
It takes hope.
Oh my God, this is really happening for him. So you get really scared because, you know, they might not survive.
It takes courage.
It was a huge shock to realise that maybe I could have had cancer.
We just broke down into tears. We didn't really want to let each other go.
You just go into a survival mode.
Despite all the blood transfusion that we were giving him, his heart was running on close to empty.
We need help.
There's actually a risk of losing my whole family.
At that stage, it was the edge of the cliff moment.
When we look back or think back at it, it's quite overwhelming.
I looked around and saw the snake. It really was life and death.
It takes the whole community.
They tell me I have saved the lives of 2.4 million babies.
People that donate blood, they're superheroes.
Feels good doing it, really.
I survived.
I can breathe.
It saved my life. If I hadn't donated blood, I'd be dead.
It makes our job so rewarding that you can see what the blood and the blood products can do for someone.
I'm so grateful to be healthy that I squish as much as I can into every day.
You know, there are just no words to say how thankful we are because I wouldn't be here and Harry wouldn't be here.
We go behind the scenes with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood to share the heartwarming stories of giving life. Now on Giving Life. A desperate race to save a surfer's life.
Am I ever going to see my husband again?
A spur-of-the-moment decision leads to a life-changing discovery.
If I hadn't donated blood, I'd be dead.
And we follow the processing of blood, organ and breast milk donations.
A lot of people don't know what happens to blood once it leaves the donor centre.
School teacher and father of 3, Joel Mason, is a 38-year-old who likes to keep fit and healthy with a daily dip in the surf near his home in Nambucca Heads. But in December 2018, the ocean almost took his life.
I'd surf 2-3 times a day when I got the chance. And now, with the kids, I surf when I can, mostly in the mornings, because up here, it's when the best waves are and the wind's offshore.
Joel's always been obsessed with water. As long as I've known him, he's been a lifeguard, he's been surfing in there, he's been paddling. That's who he is, and that'll never change.
I often surf by myself. It's the best, because there's no one there to share waves or anything with. It was a Sunday morning. My oldest son, Kaimana, was awake. I said hello and I said, I'm going for a surf. I drove on up to Nambucca. It was a beautiful morning. The water was crystal clear. I jumped off the rocks and paddled probably 150 metres out. There was no one else in the water. I was just enjoying the beautiful morning that it was. Probably 100 dolphins all playing, and I was looking at the dolphins down towards Scott's Head. And then all of a sudden I saw a torpedo come at me. Just had enough time to grab the rails of my board, turn.
Bystander Paul Graham was watching from the beach.
And then he just disappeared in a big splash. And that moment was when I first thought, something's happened.
Initially, I thought I'd just been nudged by a dolphin, or I was going to reset. I was going to go back into the channel and paddle back around. But when I was laying down, I saw that I had blood on my leg. I waved with both arms and I yelled for help. And that's when the bystanders called the ambulance. At that stage, I didn't know the extent of my injuries. I didn't know that I was losing a lot of blood. And I think adrenaline had set in. I knew I had to get to the wall as quick as I could.
And he started paddling for a wave, and as he came down the face of the wave, he just let out a big scream. But I could see a big trail of blood behind him.
I also knew that I needed to slow my heart rate down and my breathing, because if I got at all overwhelmed by the situation, then I would have lost more blood and I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
John Nixon works as a wool auctioneer in the Wagga area, travelling around the countryside inspecting wool. While on one of his road trips, he made a snap decision that ended up saving his life.
8 years ago, I was living in Temora. I drove in on my lunch break, saw the lifeblood van parked in the main street of Temora, decided to donate blood. Hadn't done it for a long time. I thought it was a good opportunity to do it, and found out my iron levels were that low that I shouldn't have been able to function.
Part of the screening that we do before we take blood from somebody is we do a little finger prick test, and that's looking at something called your haemoglobin.
The haemoglobin test is an indicator of iron levels, and John's were low.
Now, normally when you take that, it's a dark red, like it would be if you cut yourself. But when I pricked John's finger, the blood that came out was like watered down cordial. And I did it again. I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. I'd never seen that in all the years that I've worked here. And I knew straight away that something was really badly wrong, but I didn't know what it was. So I said to John, you need to see your doctor straight away. And I was concerned enough to ring his GP and make sure that he got to see that doctor straight away. When I rang the surgery, the receptionist said, oh no, sorry, there's no appointments today. I said, no, this man needs to see the doctor today.
Doctor said my iron levels were low, which indicated an internal bleed. She basically gave me a referral to a specialist in Wagga.
I rang his home about 3 days later because I was worried about him and worried about how he'd got on. And when I rang, I spoke to his son, and his son said he was in Sydney. So I knew then that he was having some treatment.
Had a colonoscopy. The doctor then, he referred me to another specialist.
John was diagnosed with a condition called Lynch syndrome.
Lynch syndrome is an inherited genetic mutation that gives rise to certain gastrointestinal cancers at a younger age than the general population.
It's handed down generation to generation. There's a 50% chance every generation could have it. If they haven't got it, they can't pass it on. And if they have got it, which I obviously have, you can pass it on. It's come down through my mother's side. Mum had a test, and she was on a cancer register. Dr. Hicks, who was a specialist, actually found Mum's records, and he predicted I had it. I had my operation within probably 2 months of the colonoscopy.
Surfer and family man Joel Mason has been attacked by a shark at Nambucca Heads Beach. He's managed to make it to the break wall, but he's losing blood rapidly. Fortunately, he's not alone.
When Joel got to me within arm's length, I reached out. I grabbed his hands, and as soon as we had a good grip, his eyes just sort of rolled back in his head and he was lifeless.
I was woken up by our oldest son, Kai, at 7:45. We had breakfast together, we were just playing. I checked my phone about 8:30 and I had a missed call from a friend. And I looked at my phone and thought, that's unusual that she's called me, especially Sunday morning, 8:30. Next thing that pops up is a voicemail. I listened to the voicemail and instantly I knew he'd been attacked by a shark.
We laid Joel on his back across the rock, and then his right leg fell onto the rock, and that's when we looked down and then we realised how actually serious this was. His right leg was open, his hamstring was gone. His whole calf was hanging down below his foot. The leg was just, yeah, a train wreck. The shark had actually bitten through his leg rope, so it was still attached to Joel's leg, but it wasn't on the board. So we took the leg rope off his ankle and then tied it up around right near his groin, and just as tight can be, just to try to stem any blood flow that was coming still from that area. The paramedics came along, looked down, and just I think they were shocked by the situation as well. And by that stage, the police and the fire brigade had also come down, and that's when the Westpac rescue chopper was approaching and landed in front of us in the car park of the river mouth.
And then my father turned up and we drove to the V-Wall. It's only really 10 minutes, but that particular morning it felt like every Sunday driver was out. And just as we arrived, the helicopter took off. That was just devastating, because at that point I just thought, am I ever going to see my husband again? They told us that at the moment he's being treated and he'll be on his way to the John Hunter Hospital. I said goodbye to my kids. I just told them that Daddy had had a surfing accident, he's got a really sore leg, and I might not be back for a few days. So after that, my dad and my mum drove myself and our youngest son, Koa, to the hospital. It's about a 4-hour drive, and the longest drive of my life. It felt like the whole community was sending me messages and texts, phone calls, and that's what kept me going for this, long 4 hours.
Wool auctioneer John Nixon goes into surgery for bowel cancer after an attempt to give blood reveals a low hemoglobin count.
I had to have surgery to remove most of my bowel. The main reason we had that is because I have Lynch syndrome, and if he'd only just taken out the bit that was there, I would have been back there in 5 years' time doing it all over again. Roughly the amount of bowel I have left is approximately 20 centimetres. The stage of cancer was stage 1, so it was probably the best report I could have got. Oh, you're damn lucky. It saved my life, If that nurse hadn't been so persistent, I could have just walked out there and gone home.
When you come and donate blood, every single time you come, we test for the nasties that we don't want to pass on. If you do plasma donation, we look at some other things. So if there's something badly abnormal, we're going to pick it up.
The discovery that he could pass on cancer to his 3 sons set John on a mission.
I can remember Mum telling me about the Lynch syndrome. I don't want to know. I was only 20-odd. I don't want to know about that, where these kids of mine need to know. I nag, get tested, not to, for themselves, but I've got grandkids. They need to know.
In 2017, John's youngest son, Bradley, was diagnosed with bowel cancer.
Basically, his cancer was hidden behind a scar, his appendix scar. My son, Bradley, he passed away on the 15th of March this year. He obviously had the Lynch syndrome gene. He's 22, he's too young. To say goodbye to a son is wrong in every way. You shouldn't be burying your own kids.
Shark bite victim Joel Mason's life is in the balance as the rescue helicopter heads to John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle. So far, Joel has received a total of 12 units of blood.
When we landed, I was lucky enough that my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in Newcastle, and Nick had contacted them to come and see us, so we were able to FaceTime before surgery. So once again, I knew there was something wrong with my leg, but I didn't know the extent of my injuries.
At that point, we had no idea, was he going to survive? Was I going to be able to speak to him again? My sister-in-law ran with her big pregnant belly, ran across the tarmac. I sort of froze. I didn't know what to say to Joel. I think I was in shock. I don't even know what I said to him, but yeah, it was a really important phone call before he went into his surgery.
We knew Joel had been bitten very significantly and that he'd had resuscitation in the pre-hospital phase. He had teeth through the wound. We knew he needed urgent surgery, And we also had blood products available because we suspected that he'd need more blood.
In total, Joel lost over 6 litres of blood, the equivalent of 12 donors.
Joel had really extensive life-threatening injuries to his leg.
Australian Red Cross Lifeblood, formerly known as the Blood Service, changes lives through blood and other life-giving biological products. 1 in 30 Australians, like Ben, donate blood every year, and one donation can help save up to 3 lives.
A lot of my mates donate blood, and one day a mate come down and he goes, "You want to come donate blood with me?" I was like, "Oh yeah, why not?" And he goes, "You're doing the right thing by doing it, saving a few lives." And I was like, well, might as well have a crack too. Feel good? Yeah, feeling great.
Lifeblood needs to collect 25,000 blood donations every week to help keep up with what Australian patients need. And our staff are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our processing centres to make sure that blood gets processed and delivered to the hospitals where it's needed. A lot of people don't know what happens to blood once it leaves the donor centre, and they think it goes straight to hospitals. But actually, it goes on a long and complex journey.
Every day, blood is flown and driven from donor centres all around the country to be processed. Every donation is thoroughly tested for blood group and viruses to ensure it's safe to give to a patient.
Each time someone donates blood, we separate it out into 3 separate components. There's red cells, platelets, and plasma.
We scan each blood pack into our computer system, and they come down here. We can put them into these orange buckets, and that means we can then put them into our centrifuge here. Our centrifuge looks more like a giant washing machine, and that's what spins it down.
And you can think of your blood as being a little bit like salad dressing. Once we've spun the blood to separate it out into its components, we have red cells at the bottom, plasma at the top, and the white cells sit in the middle.
Once the blood is centrifuged, it's put onto a pressing machine, which essentially squishes the pack, and the red cells are squished out the bottom into their own bag. The plasma is squished out the top into its own bag, and the shelf life of platelets is really short, which is why we need people to keep donating so that we don't run out of platelets.
Once a donation's been given a clean bill of health, it's sent to a special holding area in our processing facility where our staff are ready and waiting to load it into trucks when hospitals order it. Working with Lifeblood, we get to see the best of humanity, from our lovely donors to our really caring staff who are all here because they want to change people's lives.
After an attempt to give blood, John Nixon was diagnosed with hereditary bowel cancer. A visit to Lifeblood saved his life. Sadly, John's son inherited the same condition, but his diagnosis came too late. While he was still grieving, John decided it was time to give back to Lifeblood.
John, I'd never met him before. I only saw him that once for a short time. Now, I know his partner and his partner's son. She came in one Saturday morning and while I was interviewing her said, "Oh, I just have to ask you a question for my partner. He wants to know when he can come back and donate." And she started telling me the story and I said, "Oh, I know this story, that was me." And so she got on the phone, she got all a little bit shaky and a bit teary, and she rang him straight away and he came in.
Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you? So the rules for us, if you've had any, particular types of cancers, is that you can come back and donate once you are 5 years clear from completion of treatment.
Leukemia patients, however, are not allowed to donate blood.
So he was 5 years clear, so he actually came back in and donated blood on that day.
Well, that's a good colour, John.
Not wishy-washy.
No, just what we want to see. Good, healthy blood.
It saved my life. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have had any idea about how sick I really was. If I hadn't donated blood, I'd be dead.
In Newcastle, surfer and family man Joel Mason has been in surgery for over 4 hours. His leg was severely mauled by a shark earlier that morning. For wife Nicole, it's an agonising wait after driving over 4 hours from Nambucca Heads.
His first surgery was the most major, and that was his surgery for his life-threatening injuries, where we stopped his bleeding and repaired his tendons.
Originally, I was worried, why is he in there so long? But they were comforting me, saying, it's okay, they're trying to save his leg. It's a good thing he's in there longer.
Keep going, keep going. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I remember waking up, I was relieved. Number one was I was alive. Number two, that I still had my leg.
We just broke down into tears and, yeah, it was extremely emotional. We didn't really want to let each other go.
This clearly was a life-threatening injury. So not only is he lucky to have his leg, he's lucky to have his life.
Whoa, are we super high?
I am very lucky, and it's been a long journey, and it still is a long journey, and it will be for the rest of my life. But there's worse people off in this world than me.
He took me out to the spot a month or so ago, and we sat on a jet ski. It was the first time I'd been anywhere near that place. There were 40 dolphins in front of us jumping. Joel told me, oh, I'm just going to get my flippers and my goggles. I'm going to go for a swim with them. And I just thought, he's crazy. But maybe he's brave, maybe he's crazy, maybe he's a bit of both. He's going to do what he's going to do. He's Joel. There's no stopping him.
I won't know how many people actually helped me out, but it's one thing that I'm grateful for, and I wish that I could say thanks to every one of those people. People that donate blood, they're superheroes. It's one thing that you can do that could save someone else's life.
Next time on Giving Life,
He's crushing.
a brave detective defies the odds.
Despite all the blood transfusion that we were giving him, his heart was running on close to empty.
A Melbourne businessman gets the ultimate gift.
We got a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we said, this is it.
And blood besties in high spirits.
We'll be best friends forever.
Happy. She really is happy.